Everybody, Heather here. So a quick plug for the store today. If you haven't ever been over to the store, it's not just got card kits in there. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. I would love it for you to go over and check it out. There's scrapbook paper, albums, embellishments, stamps, along with the card kits, of course, markers, lots of great stuff, dies. But I also wanted to let you guys know that I just put a whole bunch of stuff in the clearance section so I can make some room. So head over and check that out. There's kits in there, paper, dies, a bunch of stamps I just put in there. So it'd be great if you could go over there and see if there's anything that you can find that you might want. So today we're going to be coloring this cute little Stampin' Bella image, and it's called Victoria and Juliette's Night Out. It comes with the image and this cute little sentiment that says girls just want to have fun. And when I stamp my image, I stamp the image first, and then for the sentiment I use my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig so I could get it lined up perfect here on the side. And there's another tutorial in the how-to section on using your Stamp-A-Ma-Jig if you don't know how to use that. So I've already stamped my image on Neenah 80-pound solar white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink. So let's color. So I'm going to start out by outlining my image, and for that I'm going to use C0, and I'm just going to go completely around the outside. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom of her shoe, and I'm just going to give it a nice quick outline. This way, if you do it first and you color on your girl, you can use your colorless blender to erase it. And I'll go right around here, and back up. Fingers up here, go around this little squiggle that's up there, and we're going to just go all the way around. And this adds a nice little shadow to my girl. When it dries, it's not quite so dark, but it gives her a nice little outline. Make sure to get the hair squiggles here. Get a couple of these. Go down here by her neck. I'm going to go right back around to this girl. And she's also got a little space right here in between her arms, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to do this girl. And there's a little space right here between their dresses. So I'll go ahead and just grab that real quick too, like that. I'm going to go up here and continue around. And down to the other side. Okay. She's got little dinky legs. And I want to make sure to get inside too, so let's go right up the inside and around back down to the other side. And I'm not worried about getting too close to the ground because we're going to put a little bit of ground down there, and we'll fill that in just a little bit. Down this side. But this shoe, she's got her foot in there, so I'm going to go all the way around that foot. And we're going to go down this foot and in between her shoe. And I also use the C0 just to add a little bit of shadow to this lace on her dress. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now since I got it out. And I just went right along the seam of her dress just to add a little bit of contrast there. And you're not really, once I put the stickles on there later, you didn't see it, but it gives it a little bit of a shadow in there. So next, let's go down here and give her something to stand on. So for that, I'm going to use W2 and W1, and I'm going to start with my W2, and I'm going to go right underneath of her shoe, and I'm going to go just a little bit up past her sole there. And same for this side. We're going to go over here, give it a couple of quick flicks, And I'm going to go up here on this side of her shoe a little bit more. And I'm going to bring this across over to this side. I got to go up over on this side just a little bit more too. Okay, and then I'm going to take my W1 and I'm going to go right over the top of that. So we're just going to go right over the top of our W2 and I'm going to spread that out just a little bit more. And you can go as far out as you would like. And that just gives them both a little something to stand on. So next, let's move on to her skin, and for that we're going to use E21, E00, E000, and for her cheeks I'm going to use R20. So I'm going to start with E21, and I'm going to go down here and do her legs first. So let's start up here on this left girl. And I'm just going to flick a little bit away from her dress, and then I'm going to carefully go down the outside here of her little skinny leg. So I'm just barely touching the tip of my marker to the paper. Right here, one of her toe. I'm going to go ahead and do this side too, so we're just going to go right down the outside of her leg. And just right down here, it's getting really skinny. We'll fill it all the way in. And to her toe. Let's get this girl's foot. They're so small that I think I'll be able to just do the whole thing here. We're just going to go right down this side. Okay. And then I'm going to, her legs are so small that I'm just going to fill them all the way in with my E00. So, but I touch my pen down on top of the E21 and just brush out into my white area and fill it all the way in. Okay, that looks good for their legs. So let's go up here and we're going to do their arms. So again, I'm going to grab E21. And let's start over here on this left girl's fingers. So I'm going to give each one of those a little dab right at the bottom. And we're going to go down the bottom of her arm. And let's go down right next to her dress. And again, I'm just barely touching my pen, just the very tip to the paper, because they're really skinny. Let's do this side. And I'm going to go ahead and do her neck. And then, because she's kind of leaning back, I'm going to do the back of her arm. And just a little bit on the top of her dress there. And then, of course, we want to do her fingers. And let's go down her arm. Okay. And then I'm going to grab E00 and I'm going to fill those in because, again, they're just so small that there's just no space for any more color. Or at least I don't have any more room for color. And we're just going to brush right over that. Fill that in. On her finger, and I got her hand. Next, let's go do their faces. So again, I've grabbed E21, and I'm going to go ahead and do this left girl's neck too. So let's go right down her neck, and I'm going to go right down the side and along her bodice. And then she's got a little ear over here, so I'm going to go ahead and get right next to where her hair is touching, and right there on her face. And then we're going to go, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little shadow around the outside of her little face. And I'm going to do a little part for her hair right here. And then I'm going to give her just a little bit of a nose. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to go give her a little definition right there. So for this girl, I'm going to go right next to her hair and around the side of her face. that. And same thing, I'm going to give her a little bit of a nose definition. And I'm going to grab E00. She's got a little bit more space here, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in a little bit, but I'm going to leave a little bit of white for my last color right there. And same up here, let's go brush on their face. Leave a little bit of white left. So they're still pretty small. Their faces are small too. Okay. Then I'm going to take E00 to fill that in. So I'm just going to brush all the way across. And same for this girl. Brush clear across her face. Oh, and her neck. I almost forgot. Okay. And then I'm going to take my R20 and I'm going to give them a couple of little circles for their cheeks. So next, let's go do their hair. And so for the left girl here, this girl, I'm going to use E18, 15, and 13. So I'm going to start with my E18. And I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to give it a few streaks right by her part. And I'm flicking away so that as my pen gets further out, it gets skinnier. And I'm going to do the same thing for this side. Okay, and then I also want to add a little bit down here close to her ear. And close to this ear, just a little bit. And then she's got a little bun down here. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of my dark in her bun. And I think I'll do the bottom of this little curly cube just a little bit. Gotta be careful, that's very skinny. Okay, and then I'm going to grab E15, and I just want to add a little bit more color. So let's go right on top of our 18. Flick a little bit more on there. Do this side. And then I'm going to fill it in with my E13. And then I like to go back with my darkest color of E18 and add just a few streaks back in. Okay, then for the other girl, we're going to use YR24, Y20, and E50. I'm going to start with YR24. And let's go ahead and start up here at her part too. Just going to go down a little bit on her part, and let's add a little bit on this side too. And then the kind of dips right here, dips in, so I'm going to add a little bit right there, and down here close to her face. And let's get this little curly cue a little bit, so maybe right here where it dips in, and right here where it dips in. Let's go, how about right here? And I'm going to get this one just a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to grab Y21. I'm going to add a little bit more color. And then I'm going to fill it in with my E50. And then again, I like to go over, I got a little bit right here. I like to go over my darkies again, so I've grabbed YR24 again, and I'm just going to go back and add those streaks back in just a little bit. I think this girl's part's looking a little too white, so I'm going to take my E13 and I'm just going to flick over that, darken up just a little bit. There, that looks better. Not quite so standing out. So next, let's go work on these glasses of wine. And for the left-hand girl, this one, I'm going to use R59, R56, and R81. So I'm going to start with my R59, and I'm just going to give it a little bit on each side. And then I'm going to grab 56. And then I'm going to fill it in with 81. And then for this girl's glass, I'm going to use YG 23 and 11. So I'm going to start with my YG 23. And I'm going to fill it in with 11. YG 11. And then for the glasses, I'm going to use B quadruple 0. So I'm just going to go right here on the side, and I'm just going to very lightly, on both sides, flick a little bit in. And it doesn't go all the way across. There's still white in here. Same for the little stem of the glass. I'm just going to give it a little flick. And same for this side. And the bottom. It just gives it a little bit of shadow. And then after I was done coloring, I took some glossy accents and filled in each of those glasses so they're really shiny. So next, let's skip down here and do their shoes. And for that, I'm going to use C8, 7, and 6. And I'm going to start with C8. And if you're like me, I don't use C8 very much, so mine's really wet, so I'm just going to be very careful. Just use a tip, or you might take the end off of the other end of your brush too. That will help it from pooling. Actually, I think I'll do that, just in case. I don't want it to make a big blob. Okay, so I'm going to color in this little stick back here at the back of her shoe. And then over here, I'm going to give each little side of her shoe just a little dab. Okay, this side. And you just, I just barely have to touch that paper, and it's really a wet pen. I do the shoes over here. Again, I'm just going to fill in the back here. And a little bit. Oh, that's really close. Okay, and then I'm going to grab C7. And I'm going to add just a little bit more. I want to leave a little bit for my lightest color. And these are really small spaces, so you have to just give it just a little dab. Okay, and then I'm going to go with C6. And you can leave some white showing if you want it to be a little bit shiny, and I think that's what I'll do this time. Just leave a little bit showing there. Okay. So now let's go up here and work on the dresses. And so I'm going to start over here on the left-hand girl's dress, this little non-flared one, kind of straight. And so for this, I'm going to use BG 49, 57, 53, 01, and 000. So I'm going to start with my BG 49. I'm going to turn it sideways here a little bit so I can flick a little bit better, because I like to lay my pin kind of a little bit on the side and just flick in. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm just going to start at her shoulder. And this way too, when I flick it, I automatically, I lift my hand up. She's got a couple little, I would say right here where it kind of dips underneath of her chest, I'm going to give that a little bit extra. And right here where she's got this little shoulder thing, there's kind of a little dip there. And down here where her hip flares out, we're going to give that a little flick. And I'm just going to work my way down very carefully. Flicking away from my girl here. trying not to go outside the lines. Okay, I like that. So now I'm going to turn her the other way so I can again lay my pin more sideways and flick better. And same thing for this side. Let's go ahead and get her shoulder. And again, it's dipping in right here, so I'm going to go ahead and flick that. And right here where her sleeve is, give that a little flick up there a little bit more. And right here she's got where her dress kind of bumps in. I'm going to give that a little bit extra. And I'm going to go down here very carefully. Work my way back up here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to grab BG57, and we just want to lay down some more colors. So I'm going to touch down on top of my Fit 49, but I want my line to go extend past that 49 this time. Okay, that's good for that side, so I'm going to turn her around the other way. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Then I'm going to go with BG53. Same thing, we want to lay down on top of these and bring that color out a little bit more. Let me go back up. Still looking a little sketchy there. I'm going to turn it around so I can flick from the side. Go down again this time. Okay. Now I'm going to grab BG01. Same thing. We just want to flick right over that. All the way up here to the top. And I'm going to turn her around so I can flick from this side. And then I'm going to take BG00 to fill it in. I'm just going to scrub right down the line there. And let's brush from this way. And I'm liking how that looks, so I'm going to leave it like that, but you could also go over it a second time if you thought it was a little too blotchy for you. Okay, so that leaves us with this cute flared dress, and for that we're going to use RV34, R32, RV32, and R30. And I used the RVs and the Rs because I wanted it to match closer to the paper I picked. So I'm going to start with my RV34, and I'm going to again turn it sideways here so I can kind of flick a little bit better. I'm going to start up here at the top of her dress, and again, if you don't use this pin very much, take the end off the other side so it doesn't drip. Okay, so I'm going to go down right along her body here, get it started a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to bring this out just a little bit more. And right here, it kind of dips in underneath of her chest, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my line out there. Same with her bodice on her skirt right here, I'm going to drag that out. Okay, and just so I don't draw outside the lines, I'm going to go ahead and just go down the edge of her skirt here. That will help me not go so crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and flick so that I can bring my line out here and soften it at the end. And then her little skirt kind of bells right here. I'm going to go in a little bit more right there. Okay, I'm liking that. So now I'm going to turn her so I can do the other side. Okay, and I want to go ahead and go underneath of her bodice right here. And let's go ahead and do right up the front of her dress right here because her chest is going to cast a little bit of a shadow. And let's go down this side. And again, she's got this little bell right here. It looks like it kind of scoops in. So I'm going to go ahead and flick inside that just a little bit more. And I think I'll actually come up here a little bit more. Okay, and again, I'm just going to draw me a line right next to this so I don't go outside the lines here. Get me started. Okay, and then I'm just going to go back and we're going to flick that in just a little bit more so that my line can soften towards the end. Okay, and then the bottom of her dress, she's got some little bumps right here. So I want to kind of highlight those bumps. So first off, let's go and do a line right next to the bottom so I don't color over her lace. And if you do, that's not really a problem. I'm going to put a bunch of stickles on there so that'll help it out. Okay, but right here, she's got it looks like it kind of bumps up right here. So for that, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a pleat. Same with this one. I'm just going to give that a little bit of some kind of definition there. And I'm just going to work my way around. Here's another little bump. And here's a little small bump right here. Got a little close on that side, but that's all right. And then over here, there's a little bitty bump right here. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of dark right there. Okay, I'm liking that. So now, to give it more of a pinkish tone to match my paper, I'm going to grab R32, and I'm just going to color right over the top of that. And if you go past a little bit, that's okay. But I'm going to try to keep my color right on the last, even with the last color pretty close. I just want to add a little bit of pink on here. And I'm going to work my way around to this side. That gives it a nice purplish pink tone. I just didn't have a color that matched my paper perfect, so I was trying to make it a little bit closer. Okay, I'm liking that. So I'm going to like that. And then I'm going to grab RV32. And we're going to fill some of this in. And since we're going to be going over it with the R30 all the way, I'm just going to go ahead and scrub all the way across. I'm going to turn it around so it stays wet. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. We'll fill that in. And then we're just going to bring this. I want to keep the edge of my line wet, so I'm going to go back down. Okay, like that. And then to give it that pinkish tone again, I'm going to grab R30. And I'm going to go across the whole thing. And let's come from this way. That gives it some nice little pleats in there. And if you wanted to, again, if you didn't like how it blended, you could just go back and start out again at RV34, and just work your way back down. So here's the finished coloring of Victoria and Juliette's Night Out. Super cute. And then here is the finished card. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit more. Got some great Bella Boulevard paper on there called Snapshots. You can find that in the store too. So I have, after I got it all together, I put stickles on their dress, on their lace. I've used a Sharpie white paint pen to add some color, some dots to their cheek. And then I used my Wink of Stella glitter pen to add glitter to their hair. This little swirly thing right here. And then I put some down here on their shoes. And again, I put the glossy accents up here on the glasses. And I added some pearls that come in your kit. So I hope you had fun coloring with me today. Head over to the store and check out the clearance section, and there will be a link down in the description box. And I hope to see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.